Homeschooling when your youngest licks random things. I don't think I can hardly get through that title without cracking myself up, but it really conveys the message that I want to share with you today. If you stick with me, I'm going to share 3 or 4 points to help those moms that have all younger kids and they're outnumbered by their army. I want to share some sanity saving secrets. My name is Tina Robertson. My site is Tina's Dynamic Homeschool Plus. My public Facebook page is How to Homeschool Easy, the letters EZ, and then my group is Homeschool Dynamics. Now, back to what I was wanting to talk about, because I always make these videos about you and about your questions. So I want to share some points with you, and not just how to survive. We always hear that term, but what does it mean? Survive, not just survive, but thrive. You know, we hear that term all the time. What does that mean? Because I sure didn't feel like I was thriving when I was outnumbered. But let me go back to tell you a story about my situation and where this title comes from, and also because you have questions in the group and I want to get them answered. But when I started homeschooling, I am a person that is fairly organized. I can put things down in order. But here's the thing. Young kids can bring you right to your knees when you have all those schedules and the routine and everything and your checklist in order. So what had happened to me one day as I was getting ready to start my homeschool day on time, according to my schedule, and I couldn't find my youngest. He was in the living room licking a quarter. Don't ask me what was going through his mind. Obviously not much, or he was exploring. That's what I like to say. It sounds better. He was a discoverer. He's an explorer. So he's in the living room licking a quarter. Not only did he lick it, but it turned into emergency that day. But he swallowed it. Yes, I had to call 911. Yes, they came. I was able to get the quarter out of his mouth. But the first responders radioed back, the child's okay, but the mom might need something. So I remember what it's like. That's just one thing that happened to me when all my kids were younger and I was trying to homeschool. So let me share some things I've learned. Of course, it's always easier, right, to look back and say this and this and this. But at the time when you're going through it, you don't feel that way. You just don't feel like these tips and tricks different scenarios going on in your household. So let me share this first tip with you that will help you to remember the times that you're going through. For one thing, it is just a season. Yes, I know. I hated to hear that. You know, it's back when you're pregnant and people say, oh, well, let me tell you my pregnancy experience, and this time shall pass by quickly. You know, really, when you're going through it, I don't know if you're like me, I just kind of smiled, but when they turned their back, I kind of rolled my eyes because it's like, I already know that. And it's true, we may know it, but we don't remember it. And we need to remember it when we're going through it, that it is just a season. So the point I'm making, though, is embrace the season. There will not be another time like it. Live in the day of your toddler or your preschooler or your kindergartner. So that's my first tip. I'm going to talk some more about it because I want to give you these other 2 tips I have. And I write myself an outline here because I like to tell you everything that I know at one time, and that's not going to help you. So I keep myself contained to an outline so you walk away with these 3 main points. The second point I want to make, and then we're going to tie all of this together, is you have to have a realistic routine. And I know in the homeschooling world, everyone kids about it. Oh, what routine? I don't really held to that way of thinking because it never got me anything accomplished for the day. Now, where I was on the organization spectrum is I was overly organized, too much. So I would always set myself up for disappointment for the day. Many I help are on the opposite end of that spectrum. There's not any expectations for the day. They do feel disappointed because they're not sure what they got done for the day. The middle point is the happy place to be. So when I mean routine, because sometimes those words and schedule, they can get a bad rap in the homeschool world, and they do. And it's the reason why is because they're not done right. If they're done correctly, what a wonderful tool to guide you through the day. So what worked better for me when my kids were all young, say kindergarten and under, was to have a routine for the day, meaning something that happened before lunch and something that happened after lunch. That was it. That was it. That was my routine. If I could get these things done before lunchtime and this done after, and everyone was okay and didn't swallow any quarters or have to call 911 for the day, I knew we had success. So, for example, when my household was young, it could be anywhere between 5 in the morning to 7 to 8 to even 9 that my kids would get up. But what I would do is I would take advantage of their flexible schedule. Because here's the problem. I say problem, and it is a problem. I see it all the time in the hundreds and hundreds of new homeschoolers that I've helped through the years. And they go about the routine the wrong way because they don't realize who is their true scheduler. Okay, it's not me. I obviously had no control over that. It's not us as the parent. And here's the other thing. It's not even our oldest child. It's not our oldest child. Now, I'll talk about this in my new homeschooler course about the rule of thumb when you're teaching multiple kids. You do not start from the top and work your way down. And that was my same mistake. Everything I was trying to get ready so I could get number one, reading and writing and doing our math for the day. But that's not going to work because he's not the true scheduler. And guess what? He or she can wait. Your true scheduler is your youngest one, your toddler, your preschooler. That's what I mean by live in their day. They are your true scheduler. When they're up and they want to interact with you, fold them into your day. I'm going to give you some more tips on what to do. Include them because there's going to come a time, and I've seen it a lot of times when some homeschoolers, when they start, when all their kids are young, they keep pushing the younger ones away. And then all of a sudden, okay, now we want formal school. Well, they've not been used to coming every morning to the learning table. Now you want them to come to the learning table. So we have to learn the word yes more. Not no. That's what they hear. We want more yeses when they're young. Yes to the learning table. Yes, be included in what we're doing. Yes, we're going to stop with number one and help number 2, 3, or 4, or whatever number. Whoever your youngest one is gets their attention first. They get folded into the day first. Okay, so back to what I was talking about, the routine. It was a framework because I had to shoot for a few things and I wanted to do that. So before lunch, hopefully I could get math done with number one. Because sometime during that morning, I knew that the youngest one was going to nap. He either was going to nap or he was going to sleep later. I have no control over which one he's going to do. I'm just ready for the morning on whichever it is that he's going to do so that I can give number one their attention without them always being distracted because they do need the attention. When kids are that age, they all need the one-to-one. But the second thing to remember too is that you can give number one, whoever your oldest king or queen is, you can give them independent activities so that if you say, okay, we got to stop now. Yes, they may be frustrated, but it's okay. They learn all the needs of the family are important, not just their need. But the key is to have these activities that you can pull out on a moment's notice and they can entertain independently while you're feeding, nursing, picking up toys, or whatever for the youngest one, giving him or her the attention that they need when they come back to you. And then after lunch, there was another nap time in there, and I messed up in the beginning because during nap time, I'd hurry, run, pick up stuff, get the house ready, try to get it clean, and then the nap was over and I hadn't done any school. It was exhausting for me because I didn't get a break. They had a nap, and it was just one thing after another for me, but I was able to get school in. And then something else, another point I do make, and I want to clarify it some more when I talk about it in my course, and that is you can have out of normal times for the academics, for your oldest ones. You can set that. You can have those times. And I just went to my husband and I explained to him, you know what? This week was just a complete bomb. We didn't get much done, not even the 10 minutes of math that I wanted to get done. And he would take the youngest set of kids, and even just spending 1 hour, one-to-one, with my oldest, put me so far ahead on a Saturday or a Sunday. It doesn't take the whole day. And he didn't mind taking the younger ones in, going and getting a donut, coming back, whatever it is, he liked to do with them. He always had something planned. He'd get them a donut. I didn't care. I was like, whatever, just take him for a few hours. And he would take them, and I'd feel better giving my oldest his one-to-one time if I felt like we weren't where we're supposed to be on the schedule. Okay, so having that routine, remember, take advantage of nap times. It doesn't always mean clean the house. It means trying to do school. I had 2 nap times in the day. So the first nap time, I would cover a skill subject. We talk about skill and content subjects and teaching the stages. If you don't understand that, we'll talk about it some more too here. But the skill subjects, they're just the 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic, and they don't take a long time in the younger grades. So we would cover a skill subject in the morning. That ended up being my routine. And I'd cover a content subject in the afternoon. That was it. A content subject: history, science, geography, art, something. And if the youngest one, the toddler, allowed it, then I would do a little extra reading or writing, math. I would try to get all that in at that first nap or when he slept in. That's how I got those things covered. Now, let me share some tips about, because I will look here at my next point, which is kind of entertaining him or occupying him, if you will. And it's not going to happen just by giving them some colors, because they're pretty smart. They know that they are being put aside. So what I did was I came up with these big, huge Ziploc bags. I'll talk about those also. But I would put different activities in them, and he didn't always see them. Actually, I had to do it for I had to do it for 2 younger ones. And so I would have these Ziploc bags that I would put learning activities in, and I would just put it at the top of my closet because I didn't want them to be on the devices for a long time. But I did use them, and I used movies, shows, whatever I needed to do, but I did something educational even for the youngest ones. It will be okay. They end up learning. Your oldest will not get behind, especially when all of them are so close in age. Because play is learning. Sometimes we end up saying no to so many things and not yes enough. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the crafty mom. I'm not the mom that says, oh, I can handle all this mess around the house. I can't. I know that about myself. I can't have chaos because nothing gets accomplished. I don't like clutter. I don't like not finding what I need. I get rid of it. I get it out of there. I get it off my plate. I get it out of my mind, and I function and I go full steam ahead when I have to stop. So I don't want you getting the wrong impression here. Oh, she's the crafty mom. She can take all the mess in the house. I couldn't. But here's what I did do is I contained it to one area. No, I didn't allow my kids to just have it all over the house. I looked at my house and I thought, what 1 or 2 rooms could I contain the mess to? And so I made one area a school area, a learning area, because my kids all were young. And we had to have the tables so they could learn to write. That was the right height. So I made that area. And right beside it was a bathroom. perfect learning area for a toddler or preschooler that wanted to paint or have rice everywhere, the floor be dirty. I could put them in the bathtub. They could be at the sink. The mess was all right there. And guess what? If I didn't have the energy to clean it up, I could just pull the door to. And that's what I did. They didn't get to just make mess all over the house. I enforced that. Nope, because I knew I couldn't deal with that. And besides that, it was too much, letting it out of control. I have to guide them. So I said yes to a lot more things. Yes, but right here in this contained area. And I did everything I could to mark off that area. I brought, disposable tablecloths to put on the floor. I bought disposable rugs. I had bins that they didn't always see, bins that they did not always see that were full of colors or paints or crafts or lacing or Play-Doh or something that I didn't mind. It stayed in these two rooms. So that's something else I did. Another something that I did was I made a book corner, if you will, in one of my school areas. Now, in one of my pictures I have to look back at it, but I don't think you can even see it. But I started off real public schoolish because I didn't know anything else. So I had a bookshelf that was about their height. But from that bookshelf, because I would turn it out and I would put books on there that I chose from the library because they were all real young, but things I wanted to kick off their reading diet with. And so I would have that bookshelf there. But from that morphed the idea, let's make this fun area of a big bean bag and an area where we're at all learning together, because the toddler and the preschooler and the baby, they want to be where you're at. So don't try to push them off someplace else. Set your learning environment up to suit them. And I would make a little reading with a bean bag, a little reading corner over there in the side, and I would put different stuffed animals, and I'm not sure through the years, I'm trying to remember some other, I put a coconut tree over there, pretend coconut tree. And when we had the seasons, I would put the season things around it. I did do that. So it really made for a fun learning area when they were in there with us. And I would always have their supplies. If we acted like we were doing school and we're sitting at the table and we were, and he toddled in there, let me get yours. And it had his name, and I would give him his box, and he's looking at what his brother has and what he has. And he's like, okay, I have the same thing here. Let me see. And then I would just hand him a random piece of paper, and would just give him some instructions like I was instructing my oldest one. And that worked. He would sit there and he'd act like he was doing something he was doing. And then 10 minutes, he's gone. But it didn't interrupt that time I had with my oldest. Now, it was true. My oldest, too, what's true is that he had a hard time sometimes focusing with all the interruptions. But I look back now that he's a young adult, and I see that it really helped him to cope with other things going on around him, because we don't have the perfect circumstances our whole life to learn, whether we're schooling, when we're working a career, a college. We don't have any control of what's going on around us unless we just put ourselves over in a little corner. There's always people at work, college, wherever, interrupting us. Something's coming up, the phone's ringing, stuff's going on. It really helped him to just kind of narrow his focus. And something else I did starting off is I got one of those cardboard tri-fold type of desk. They sit on your desk. I'm trying to remember the name of them. I had them written here, but now I can't find where I wrote it at. But it's a tri-fold, and you set it on your desk, and it's cardboard, and it's just what they look at. It kind of helps them when they look up and want to look around, and they just see the cardboard. And on the cardboard, you can put some fun things, pictures of them, or some like the days of the week. I put something up there that when he looked up and lifted his head, that he actually was learning something. And then he'd look around a little bit, and then he'd put his head back down and keep working. I did that. It helped him. It wasn't severe. It wasn't overly, strict. But what I was trying to train him to do was see if you can kind of block out what's going around you and let me help you and show you how to do it. Sometimes we tell our kids, we want you to do this, but we never show them how to do it. So think, how can I show my oldest what I want, him to do or her to do? And that's one of the things I did. Got one of those trifold things that you can sit on the desk, and it kind of blocked everything else that was going around him. Eventually, after a few years, we didn't use it. But he would lift his head up, and then he'd look back down. And I learned, too, that he was coping with interruptions a lot better than I would sometimes. He's used to his siblings making noises. And I would just go right on talking, and he would be okay. Okay, let me look over here at my notes. A few more things here that I want to look at. I had also mentioned about bins a little bit earlier for your youngest one. When I mean a bin, I mean one of those containers that you can have manipulatives in. The key to entertaining and educating these little ones and not pushing them off, another key is, like I said, always say yes, because I said too many no's. Try to say yes, because it's only a season, it goes away, meaning the mess, the play, that is how they learn. And matter of fact, more and more, even since the 20 years that I've been homeschooling, more and more is coming out, research about how play is learning. And a lot of kids that skip over that and are pushed to academics too quick, they don't get it. They don't do well in academics later. That play is what stirs and nurtures the intelligence. It's what makes those neurons have those synapses, make those connections in their mind. That, hey, this is what this means and this is what this means, because they've been allowed to play, and not every minute of their day filled with something where they didn't have quiet. That's why home is the best place to teach them, not where there's a bunch of chaos that they're not used to. They're used to the family. That's a natural environment for them. They need the quiet time. They need the time outside. They need short periods of learning. For that matters, our oldest ones, and I say oldest, even kindergarten and first grade. I remember when I had my first grader, I thought, oh, things have to change now. We've got to do all this formal learning. No. We're still at play, several years ahead of him to learn. And remember, the skill subjects, that's the only thing we have to focus on, even if you have to do a skill subject in the morning and a skill subject in the afternoon, and you don't get a content subject in. Because remember, content subjects, they're going to learn that the rest of their life for their whole life. So they're not even going to learn it when they finish school. When they finish high school, they're not even going to know everything they need to know. They can keep learning. But the skill subjects, math, reading, and writing, equip them with that. So if you feel like you've been interrupted, then do 2 skill subjects. Math here and writing here in the afternoon. That's it. The other subjects, read aloud to them. Put a book on for them to listen to. These things will help to maintain your sanity, but more than that, they will also stir the academic love in your younger kids. Okay, I wanted to share just a few quotes that I found here that I've really enjoyed, and I had them pulled right up here, so let me pull them right back up for you, because they really inspired me. They really helped me to realize this time that I have with my kids is really short, and to remember, when I was talking about the stimulation that kids have, it just made me think of something else while I'm looking for this quote. I remembered Dr. Ruth Beechick. Some of you may not have heard of her. She's passed away now, but she was a wonderful educator when I first started, and something that she said really resonated with me at the time when I was really trying to follow this schedule, and it wasn't going to happen because my schedule was going to be set by the true scheduler, which was my youngest. And she said, don't overstimulate your kids with a lot of fluff. And it's true. That's happened. I think in our educational world, we think more is better, and it's not. It's not at this age. Less is better, because children, like I had mentioned before, they're born natural explorers. They're born curious. We want to feed that love. And in order to feed that love, they have to have time, quiet time, without something being thrown at them all the time to learn. They have to have quiet time to sit back and say, let me think about this, or what next mess can I get into, or how does this fit, or can I paint this? That's really what children love to do. So I found my quote that I wanted to end this workshop with. And it's by Susan Schaeffer Macaulay. And she says, often children have been deprived of free play in the beautiful out of doors. Their eyes are closed to the wonder of the world around them, and they have missed the joy of being drawn into a lifelong love affair with nature. So nature has just about everything that your child needs to learn when they're young. They can learn patterns, they learn science, they can see transformations, they learn about history because they can see the life cycles of animals. Just watching a bird build its nest. These are all precious, precious moments that you cannot go back. So don't be in a hurry to give too many formal academics. Don't feel defeated if you feel like you're not doing your schedule. There's plenty of time, plenty. I didn't realize that. That's why I sent my oldest to kindergarten, because I did not educate myself and realize there's plenty of time for the academics. And I didn't realize I'm not going to teach him everything by the time he's in high school, but what I am going to teach him is how to know and learn those things afterwards, even when he's finished and when he's gone from me. So hang in there, enjoy this precious time. This moment will soon pass too. I hope you gained those 3 points from this. If you need any help, just post a question here. I'll try to clarify it. I keep my outline here, but I love to give you the extras too, so I want to be sure that I made all the points for you. Anyway, have a good day.